Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. Where do you start at the back of what we've just watched over the course of 94 and a bit minutes? That's Tottenham Hotspur in a nutshell, guys. There you go. That's what you support this football club for. Don't ask us what we're talking about here tonight for the next hour or so. We'll just sit here and just watch the Wolves, I think, on the back of what we've just witnessed for the last hour and a half. Thank you for joining us back on the Last Word on Spurs here. If you're listening to us for the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And listen, when you see these guests on your screen right now, it of course means it's our regular panelists for the Champions League. For our watching audience, we've got the wonderful Richard Cracknell back on Last One on Spurs. Rich, don't even know where to start with that game, even where to begin. I mean, what have we just witnessed over the course of the last 94 and a bit minutes?
Well, first 60 of them. Can we just go to about minute 65, Rick? Because I'm just burning my eyes in that first hour. It's wow. Only Tottenham. It's it's just baffling, Rick. One thing I don't want to have done is the VAR decision at the end. Make it all about that, because that first hour yet again was just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And you know what? VAR, it's just another layer of you get some and you don't get some. It was supposed to be this almighty thing that's just completely accurate. It's not. Refs got as many right and wrong as VAR does. So it's just another layer of crap where you get some and you don't get some. And Sterling really weren't offside when he scored against us in the 94th minute when we went through to the final in the Champions League. So, and if you really, really like, VAR robbed us, VAR this, VAR that, we've robbed ourselves again for an hour, and I just don't want to lose sight of that. So, but good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. Hope your hearts are all good after that. Yeah, again, talking of hearts, carry on, Rick.
What a segue that was. Bringing what we need to much-needed optimism right now at a point of where I know many have found themselves at despair with Spurs based on that first half performance. I'd like to have him back on the show. We've got the wonderful... He always makes us feel better after the last one on Spurs, so that's the great Darren Hartman's back. Hartman, it was almost like written in the script for you, this game, wasn't it, on the back of that?
Listen, it's a gift. It's a gift that you booked me for the right ones, and here I am again. And yeah, wow. There's always a lot to dissect when it comes to Tottenham, and I will try my best to find the positive angles. I know there are a lot of negatives, but there are some positives, and we will mix and blend as I like to do throughout the night. So people, sit back, relax, enjoy. We're going on a bumpy one.
I don't know whether Daz is trying to wind us up now, but I talk about angles, the way that VAR decision is being decided. I don't know if he's trying to wind us up. He always does make us feel better, that's for sure. Always makes us feel better. And one man who probably can't believe he get booked again for a Champions League game. It's the wonderful Ricky Norwood back on Last One on Spurs. Ricks, just a quiet one tonight for you to review. Sorry about that. Not much to go with, to be honest with you, for this one.
Oh, quiet game, bro. Just a typical Tottenham night, mate. Typical Tottenham Champions League night. What more do you want? What a crazy game. Yeah, like Darren was saying, there is a couple of negatives, and there's a couple of negative traits that have been happening now and have been creeping into the game a little bit. But there are a couple of positives there as well. Just to get out there straight away, I haven't lost faith with Conte or what he's doing with the club, or that he's, finally we've got a direction and finally we're trying to do something. And yes, it's not working right now, but, I still got faith in Conte and what he's trying to achieve at the club. So, yeah, looking forward to getting into it, man. And it's great to be back on the show with you beautiful people.
Lovely to have you in, mate. I know, again, whenever you come on, it's never easy. I mean, I know the last few weeks on Last One Spurs haven't been easy. There's already calls for a shit quiz. I mean, maybe we can just jump straight to the shit quiz, because it'd probably be easy to decide that rather than even though I can't win a shit quiz, it might be easy to decide it with a VAR decision at the moment.
Viewers, listeners, what Ricky's not telling you is, before we came on in the green room, he said, I don't know what we're going to do about the shit quiz tonight. And I said, well, because if we win, we were going to do it. If we lost, we didn't. So down to you in the comments. If you want one, I've got one. All right. There's one lined up. It's a stinker as well. You decide. Let the people vote, Rick.
It really needs to come up, big brother. You decide.
Any clues on the theme tonight?
No. It's coming at you raw. Completely raw. If you get it. If nothing but we're a democracy here, Rick, and we'll let the people decide.
Absolutely. There's some. At least we've got some order on last word on Spurs. Not being said about the what's happening outside the world about democracies at the moment. Right. Before we do get in tonight, just a reminder, if you do need one, that we're absolutely delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown Bank opposite our South Stand. We are looking ahead to hopefully bringing you a Christmas show live from the pin. We'll be bringing you hopefully some news on that very, very shortly. It will involve Mr. Crackers having to fly himself over here potentially, and also you might see an appearance of Ricky Norwood and the Hartman also there. So we're keeping you posted and all to come on that with regards to Beavertown and more. It's keeping our eyes peeled and we'll be keeping you updated on that. But you can book tickets right now for what is now a do or die game for Tottenham in that Champions League, that last game, which you can now see live from Beavertown, despite how much you think of bad that first half was. You can go to www.beavertownbrewery.co.uk/pages/corner-pin. Right, boys. Do you know what? I honestly don't know where to go on the back of what we've just witnessed. I can tell you that right now, Antonio Conte is absolutely livid giving his post-match reaction to BT Sport. And we'll be bringing you, of course, on the show, as we always do, instant reaction to Antonio Conte's post-match press conference. We'll bring that to you live. Before we do, we have to tuck in and have to get stuck into what we've just witnessed over the course of 94 and a bit minutes. Cracks, let's start with you, because for a few seconds, Spurs had thought we'd won Group D, but we now have to go to Marseille and get something, which, based on that first 55 minutes, is probably really alarming, because it was a really mixed performance from Tottenham. You've got to say we were horrendous in that first half. A lot better in the second half. We created enough chances to win it, even before that goal was disallowed at the end. But I think the question probably is that if we had played that way, second half for the whole game, the 94 and a bit minutes, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a draw. We'd be sitting here talking about a comfortable Tottenham win. So give us your thoughts overall on that performance from Tottenham.
Yeah, you absolutely bang on, Rick. You know, you do that for 94 minutes, and that VAR decision at the end is neither here nor there, because you're already 3-1 up, 4-1 up, 4-2 up. The goals would have come. They would have come. We've got the quality up front, and every time we put it on them in that last 35 minutes, they couldn't cope. You could see them dropping to the floor, trying to play for time with every foul. They just couldn't cope with us, and a lot of teams can't, because we have real good quality up front. So it's baffling, Rick, why we don't play on the front foot more, because at the back, it looks like a clown's car on fire at times, but up top, we look banging up. We're really good. We are really good. That front 3-4 that we've got, the interchanges, there's not many teams in Europe with better, to be honest. And especially in the league as well. You know, it's just something that's come over from the league, these performances. I don't know where they come from. I don't know why we just so introvert when it starts to go against us. It just looks like confidence. And then all of a sudden, something happens. We get a little break, we go, and the towels are up. Even within games, we just flip-flop from looking like panel beaters to well beaters to panel beaters to well beaters. It's just like, I can't suss out where we are, but I'll try and just take some positives from tonight, because that last half an hour, just do that. Be that team. And like I've always said, and I think a lot of Spurs fans probably the same, I'll take getting beat every day of the week. It happens. But I won't take, poor performances. So I'd rather, the Man U game, I'd rather have gone out and given that a go than what we've done. The Arsenal game, the same. I'd rather get walloped 7-0 and know that we've actually put a shift in and given it a go than wimp out 1-0 losers all the time. It's just, I don't know, Rick. I don't know what's causing it. I can't see what's going on behind the scenes there. None of us will really know. But the positive, the players now have to take that last half hour into the next game. They have to draw from that. The VAR decision, it'll either break you or it will galvanise you. Conte has to get back on that training ground tomorrow and go, right, what are you going to do? That's what I'm personally like. If I get a kick up the gonads, I'll suck it up and I'll go on then, I'll have another go. That's just the type of person I am. So this is what they've got to do now. They've got to pull together as a group and go, we're not having that. And you're going to have to take it out on Bournemouth on Saturday now. They're going to have to take the positives from it. So let's see. We're weird. We're all over the place at the moment. We're like nailing jelly to the wall to assess.
This comment is currently winning comment of the night at the moment. My old 1980s television warms up quicker than our team, which, to be fair, I've got to be honest and say to you, I mean, that first half is really alarming. And again, I think we're here to provide a fair balance. I think it wouldn't be right just to be sitting and talking about a great second half where we've stormed the performance and we've played really well and we've been cheated out 2 points. Listen, that VAR decision at the end is a disgrace. You know, I am of the mindset that if it takes you 4 minutes to decide whether a goal should be given or not, then surely, you know, it can't be seen as being deemed to be in a situation where the goal can't be given. Because if you're taking 4 minutes, it surely isn't conclusive. And therefore the goal has to stand. But listen, that's rubbish, Rick, isn't it? This VAR, it's these bean counters with their thick frame specs being held together by sticking plasters, with their rulers, and they come, don't they? Yeah, pushing it back up their nose. Oh, let's have a look at that. Oh, yeah. And they get talking of 1980s televisions, they get some 1980s Atari out the cupboard, don't they? Get one of those Sinclair ZX Spectrums out with a rubber keyboards, and they go, all right, let's start drawing some lines on this. And do you think it's there? Do you think it's, oh no, well, what size shoe does Harry Kane wear, Dave? Like, you know, oh, he's a 10. Oh, the bloke behind him says on the internet he's a size 9, so he's got to be 2 sizes toe in front of him. This, you know, but this is the nonsense and crap that they've introduced into the game. And we're just going to have to wear it because they're not going to pull it. They're going to double down on it. It won't be going anywhere, that's for sure.
No,
it won't
it's going nowhere.
And the reality is that won't be the, as you've seen, it isn't the first, and it certainly won't be the last. And I mean, Daz, let's come over to you. I mean, that's a real performance of 2 halves from Spurs. I mean, listen, that second half, you can't argue there was a lack of effort or commitment to the calls. You know, there's been maybe questions about back on that first half, are we giving everything? Second half, we did get everything. We know tonight elsewhere that Frankfurt have beaten Marseille. Spurs are now top of Group D, and they will need a point away at Marseille next week without Antonio Conte on that touchline, which, well, based on that first half, would it make a difference if he is or not? Because you've got to be honest, that first half was so poor, and we know it's not going to be easy now to reach the last 16. Thoughts overall, Daz, on that performance?
You know what? Being a Spurs fan right now is difficult. It's very, very difficult. And it's a whole new wave of complexities than I've ever had before in my time as a Spurs fan. Because Cracker's made an interesting point there, talking about I'd rather see him just perform well and get spanked 7-0 and all of that stuff. And what we've been given right now, and from Conte came in, is something that was new for Spurs. We're winning games in an ugly way. We're winning games in a fashion that we shouldn't have been winning. We didn't get a performance, but then we got a result. And there's fans going, oh, this is great, because we've never been in that world before. We've never played badly and won. We've never got results when it's not been going our way. That's not our way. And now we're stuck in this real changing of guards, in this real transitional point where we're trying to work out transition. I know Conte doesn't like that term, but we're stuck there going, what is this? Because right now, what it isn't working. For Conte, for the team, and for the fans, nothing is working. And I think that's the scary thing, because I'm with Rick. We always say, in Conte we trust, we believe in him. I'm not doubting the system. I'm not doubting the idea. But what is happening on the pitch is problematic. You can see it in the players. That first half, and every first half, you look at these individuals and they don't look like they trust each other, like they believe in themselves, like they know what they're doing. But clearly, Conte has set out a system. I was listening to Doherty talk after the match, and he said they're watching videos, they're analysing, and they're trying to break down what's going wrong. And I think Cracker's hit the nail on the head. Don't watch the whole game. Watch the last 35 minutes and go, that's what you have to do. Why are you not doing that? Because it's in them. It's there. And if Conte wants that, if he's asking for it, we have to look at personnel and go, why are you not doing that then? Because clearly there's something being lost in translation or in confidence or in match game. I don't get it. And I think that's where I have to look at a bigger picture and go, maybe when personnel changes, we get what we want. And I think we've highlighted our front three looks so good. And when Richarlison's there and Kulusevski's there are certain places where things are working and certain places where it's not working. I think That's the frustrating thing about where we're at right now. We are on such a point of it could be great, and the frustration of it could be great. It's just grating us all because we're watching our beloved Spurs not playing the way we would like them to play, but not getting the results. Because if today we got the win, everyone would have forgot about the first 65 minutes.
I agree. I totally agree. Yep. Spot on. And I think I say, please accept my apologies for looking down. We know Conte right now is giving his feedback to the press at the moment. So I apologize. I am looking down to see what we are expecting from Conte. I mean, with Conte, we know the character. You're just not sure what's going to come out of his mouth. So I'm just keeping one eye on that as this show is rolling. We've got nearly 1,000 of you watching us live. Again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. It's a difficult evening. It's one of frustration for sure. Listen, for 60 and a bit minutes, a game where really Spurs deserved absolutely nothing. We then threw the sink at Sporting, and you come away feeling, have we not won that game? So you do feel, of course, slightly cheated. This is from Richard Blackdog, who says here, coming up on the screen, if I can load up for a second. Richard, give me 1 second, I will. VAR smarts beggars belief why Conte was given a straight red card. We all have to deal with that. As we said, Conte is going to be out of next week's game at Marseille. Rick, let's bring you in. It's mad because that controversial goal from Kane is the last moment of an absolutely insane game that leaves Conte furious, us furious as fans. In a game, if we're being honest with you, for a good 55 minutes, we'd absolutely no right to even think we could win that game based on how poor he was in that first half. But we are in a situation now where Spurs are going to need a result against Marseille next week to secure progress to the knockouts without Antonio Conte. Is that still doable? And how concerned are you for a man that whenever you've been on here, you have always spoken so highly of Conte, the project, the vision where we're going? Do you still feel as passionate and believing of that, Ricks?
Yeah. Yes, Ricks. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, let me just give you a different take on what I saw in the game. Now, the first 20, 23 minutes, I felt that we came out pretty quick. I felt that we tried to pass the ball quickly. I felt that we tried to get a couple of shots off on target. I think that happened with Sonny and I can't remember the other one right now. But we were trying to get ourselves
Dyer, my God. Dyer, man,
right?
honestly.
So we were trying to get ourselves in the game, okay? We was trying to get ourselves cooking, and we was trying to be on the front foot, being at home, and after the last two results that we've had in the Premier League. As soon as the goal went in, and obviously it being Marcus Edwards as well, Costa's going to love that, isn't he? But as soon as that goal went in, you heard the wind come out of the whole stadium. Now, the fans were fantastic tonight. The way that they started the game, the tifo,
shout out to THFC flag. Shout out to THFC flag. Shout out.
My gosh, they've been doing great work. And just so the viewers and the listeners, if you don't know, that is all paid by fans. That that there were 30 odd volunteers that went and placed that tifo out in the stadium over the last 3 days. That's got nothing to do with Levy or the club or anything like that. It's purely fans. And THFC flags have been doing a fantastic job trying to increase the atmosphere and the feel in the stadium itself, as well as song sheet as well as all of the songs and stuff like that. So hey Jan, I was sitting next to her against Newcastle. Hey Jan. Yeah, so the atmosphere was electric to start with, and I think the boys responded to that. But as soon as that goal went in, all of the songs stopped with the fan. Well, from what I could hear on the TV, it just fell quiet. It felt like we was going to go back into that zone again, and Tottenham did. They did go back into that zone. They did lose confidence in themselves. They did stop whipping the ball about in a first-time pass here and there, and they did retreat into this negative Tottenham that we keep on seeing, this backward passing Tottenham that I know, look, I've said it, use it as an option, but don't make that the solution. If Lloris is getting more touches on the ball than Harry Kane, then there's a big, massive problem going on here. Do you know what I mean? However you think you can play it. So, look, we've gone 1-0 down, and we've held off, and we did hold off, not conceding any more goals up until that half time. Looking at Conte on...
Can I just say, Ricks, on that, I don't want you to come back on this. Are you not what about in the first half, we're so devoid of any creativity. We're almost we're camped even in our own half at times, 1-0 down. And you're just thinking, this is Tottenham Hotspur. This is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've got these guys that you've just said there voluntarily have gone and placed the tifo, made all that effort. And then we put in that first half performance. I mean,
but Ricks, it was a first half of two halves. Now in life, negativity always shouts louder than positivity. Positivity, you'd be like, yay, and then next day you'd be like, we need to move on. But negativity lingers and it spreads and it's poisonous. And I'm not saying that the negativity ain't truth within our game. I'm not saying that. But it was a first half of two halves. Now, the second half of that, we're remembering because we conceded the goal and then we conceded shots and we conceded space and we conceded possession and we receded as a team and we just played in that low block and tried to do something. But you could see, again, the boys were tired. It felt like they was a bit punched out again. So them coming out in the second half, first couple of chances, Sporting played well. They wanted to come back at us and put us under pressure as soon as they could. But the reaction from the boys. Now, that first half, the negative part of that first half and the negativity against Man United and against Newcastle, you've got to remember that that's a trait that has been in us for a while. Okay, so all of the boys, every single one of the squad will talk about a change in mentality. We'll talk about Conte's mentality. We'll talk about that shift. Now, if we're really real with ourselves as fans, it's been a continued problem since Poch. And Poch was the promised land. Do you know what I mean? Poch played the football that we enjoyed. Poch got us to Champions League final. We pushed in the league and stuff like that. But he still had the same note about mentality, that mentality shift to the elite level. Mourinho, same thing. Nuno, who was asking about beard oil, but that's a different question. Do you know what I mean? And then Conte's come in and he's done the same thing. He's not only worked on our fitness from where we was to where we are right now, but his fundamental thing was to work on the mentality shift in this whole squad, the shape, the way we play, the mission statement at the beginning of the day. And you saw a reaction and you saw a bit of that. Jenna said it on commentary, but you saw a bit of that kick in where there was a bit of fight and there was a bit of let's go and get them. And they had no other choice but to throw the kitchen sink at Sporting and try and make something happen. And there was only one team looking to win it. Sporting did get a couple of breaks, of course they did, because we pushed everything up front. But there was only one team looking to win it right at the end there, and we were super unlucky not to.
Yeah, listen, this is a difficult show to do. Again, it is a game of two halves, but as I've said, we're not going to sit here and sugarcoat that poor first half. Patrick on the Serena says, needing this deep therapy session all over from Philadelphia. Thanks, guys, you rock. Patrick, thank you so much for all your support. Rich, before we do get into the game itself, I just want to ask you a question. Are you not worried a little bit the fact that, we were told, give these players a pre-season under Conte and we're going to be even better than last season? And the worrying thing, you look at that first half and think, that's a pre-season under Conte. And you're thinking, man, this is a little bit worrying, isn't it? And again, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm jacking in the cards or I'm throwing the project with Conte. But all I'm making a point is that I thought we were going to be better. I do take into account we're missing Richarlison and Kulusevski, two players that are absolutely pivotal and gives Spurs width and creativity. Yeah. I'm not denying that, but I just feel when we're at home, and again, shout out to THSE Flags, the effort they made with the tifo. And I take Rick's comments on board. I just think first half, that has been too often this season. It's a regular occurring pattern where we are slow, we are really, really turgid, and we just can't seem to get the ball out of our feet. I know, again, and shout out to Constantine here, he reminds me that we are playing every 3 days, and I get that. There's lots of players with fatigue in this squad, but I do think you've got fans that are paying top dollar for tickets for Champions League football. No disrespect to Sporting, they're a good side. They're often in the Champions League. They're coming to this game on the back of a really, really poor run of form at the moment. I just feel that there should be more. And I acknowledge Conte's thoughts that, again, the squad needs improvement. But I do think that we need to stop this whole thing about the squad needing improvement and just focus, like you said, Rich, on what is there now. Because there is enough in that squad to get results. I'm not saying they're world beaters. I'm not saying they're title challengers. I'm not saying we're going to win the league. I just think based on what he's got there, we can do more. Am I being fair or unreasonable there, Rich?
Well, pre-season, you can run people up and down for 50 lengths of a pitch until they're sick and get everything into their legs. But if you can't get to them between their ears as well and improve their mentality, then you can run all day. It's if it's based on just fitness, then you'd have sprinters and world-class runners playing football, but they can't because they've not got a footballer's mentality. It's a lot of football sits up here, Rick. It's between the ears, and the mentality of them and just the silly decisions that are made. I think there's a few players that have been there a bit too long now as well, and do need upgrading. But this is where Conte's got to earn his money in that, he has to be, he always feels like he's talking to the board when he does a post-match presser and we've not played very well. He just seems to be speaking to them via the media. I said that this squad needs updating. This is what I said on the last show. At the same time, you're just not making the current players you've got feel 10 foot tall. And I don't know, I just, from the way he is publicly, I sometimes wonder whether the players don't really know where they stand with him either. I think he might be just a little bit, am I going to get a kick up the arse or a pat on the back here? And I think some of them sometimes just need either or either. And I think he maybe keeps them guessing a little bit. So we are where we are. We can't bring in no players at the moment until January, until after the World Cup. So like I said before in the last show, you've just got to make them feel a little bit better about themselves. I think, but you're right, Rick, we should be getting more. They should be getting more out of themselves. And I don't know, it's
players
almost,
as well. These players, some of them have failed 3 or 4 managers. Listen, I know it's not a complete. Some of these players have been there since Pochettino. They have failed Poch, they have failed Mourinho, they have failed Nuno, and some of them are now failing Conte as well. I'm not saying that either.
Yeah, and some of them just have not got it between the ears, and some of them have just not got it to get up to that level. You can say we play every 3 days, but then so's everybody at the moment up the top end, and you're not seeing these types of performances from some of those other teams, which tells you that that's a mentality thing rather than anything else. So no, there's, as much as we're sort of questioning Conte, there's a lot of them players that need to look at themselves as well and what they're doing and how they're reacting to, like, these moments of adversity, like when Edwards put them 1-0 up. Yeah. They've got to learn to suck it up and go and double down and go again. I mean, after that goal went in, Rick, we just became even more introvert. We were just playing backwards and we were side to side. And, that's the time when you go, what we done in the last half hour. That should have been the last half hour of the first half as well. Yep. Okay, we've gone 1 down. Now we've really got to go, but they don't. They shrink back. So we don't even stay at par. We start going like over. It's just it is baffling. I think Conte's the man, and until such times as he gets a squad that buys into it and a few more of his own players, there's been some bizarre buys for me. Spence, what's that all about?
Well, we're hitting reports this week. He's going out on loan as well, aren't we? We're seeing reports from Gary James of the Times.
Yeah, even Basuma. I mean, Basuma, he's just, he's playing him in a way that Basuma doesn't play. He's a box-to-box player. So he just seemed an odd buy. We've upgraded in areas, apart from Richarlison, where we did need someone, that didn't really need that much upgrading or buying the right players to bring in the wing-back system. Yeah. It's just those wing-backs ain't doing it. So there's a whole mishmash of things going on at the moment. I don't know. It's almost like Conte's trying to cook like curries with ingredients for a Chinese takeaway at the moment, and it's just not quite right. Yeah. And until such time, here comes my food analogies again. Until such times he gets the ingredients, it's just, yeah, there's just something off kilter at the moment. And
I tell you what, it'd be quite a while to go to M&S for those ingredients. I tell you the way it's going over here at the moment. I tell you, it will be. Just on Conte, he has just been speaking to BT Sport. He goes to say VAR is doing a lot of damage. I want to see if in another stadium of a big team, if they are ready to disallow this type of goal. I'd like to know this. A lot of injustice. I don't like this type of situation. I see not positive things. Daz, coming over to you. Spurs are in a situation now where if they go to Marseille and win next week, we do top the group. If they get a draw, that will mean they will go through and win the group if Sporting and Frankfurt draw. But it does mean Spurs are in a situation now where we can no longer consider playing the kids. We are going to have to go full strength. Just Alvin, just how confident are you on that based on, Conte not being there on the touchline? Is that a pivotal factor in him not being on the touchline for you, or do you think the squad has to show themselves now?
It may actually be a good thing, and I'm gonna throw this card out there just from playing Sunday League football. Now, I remember being on a football pitch on a Sunday and having a certain coach who will remain nameless, and all he used to do was scream at us. And what we did is we played football with that head, looking at him. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And we stopped just concentrating on what we wanted to do, what we know we can do. And it stops you thinking. It stops using your natural gut instinct. And I think what will happen in that game, I hope, that Marseille game means something. So everyone's going to have to play. But they can't look to dad, to coach, to tell me what to do. So I trust my gut. I put faith in myself. You see your leaders. You see your governors. You see your ballers. We see the players that we need to see. And I'm hoping, and I'm really optimistic that we get the performance that we deserve from, as fans, what we deserve. When I say what we deserve as fans, that we see a Spurs that goes for it, goes for the win, gets the win, and qualifies. We're in such a weird position. I listened to all of us, and I started to chuckle in my head, going, it's such a mad place to be as Spurs fans. We are all frustrated. We are all annoyed. We are all got bugbears and irritation with our team that currently sit top of their Champions League group and third in the league. And it's mind-blowing to be there if we just look at that, but to be so frustrated. So all we want is that next bit. We want that next bit from Spurs. And we know what our team can do, and we know what the situation can be, because we've been at the point where all we need to do is push on. And that's what we're saying. We need the push. And if we don't, we know what comes. We've lived down there before. We don't want to go back there. So if, on that question, Marseille, I'm very optimistic. I think having Conte not be there may be a license for the players to play. And I think it really is a time where we need to pull our socks up and go. The first half is such an issue for all of us. And I think Cracker's made the point. I think Rick's made the point. And you, Rick, is going, what is going to light the boys up? What's going to get them going? VAR has just done a stinker to us today.
Yep.
If we start the game with that annoyance for VAR, our next game, yes, it's in 72 hours, but that should still live in our memory. As Ricky said, that when you get a negative, it sits with you for longer. So use that as our fuel to start better. And I don't know what's going to be the catalyst to get us starting better. We can't end the way we end, because by that time, we've seen it in the games we've lost. We've been run over by that point, and there's nowhere to come back from. We need to really give ourselves the team, the results that we deserve, the performance that we deserve. It's so interesting right now, and I just want to see the push. I'm not waiting for transfer windows. As we've said, we know what's there. We know what we've got. We all know what doesn't work and what does work, but we have elements that are not being used in the best possible way. Basuma, I think that was a great shout, Cracks. I don't know what the deal is with him and how he's being used. Brian Gill came on tonight and showed a different element of his game. Is he being integrated for that? There are different ways that we can play with the pieces we have. We can't just keep going, oh, we don't have the right tools, so we can't play. That's not going to live on. And we have to start making the right adjustments. Because come on, Spurs, we've got a lot that we could do. Everyone looks a bit ropey right now. Let's go for it.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? You say there, we've got so much that we could do, and yet we're not showing it. And we've said for the last, 9, 10, 11 games, I know you boys, of course, Last Word on Spurs and the other shows you're on, you boys always say this, we're waiting for it to click. And we keep saying, waiting for it to click. When is it going to click? We keep saying that, don't we? And we're hoping it is going to click at some point. Just to give you a heads up, listen, on Last Word on Spurs, we always provide you with, obviously, post-match reaction to Antonio Conte's press conferences. It's fair to say it's going to be a short one. Conte answered one question before storming off in the presser. He is really, really angry. He was left fuming at the VAR decision. He leaves the press and just simply says, I don't see honesty. I'm really upset. He is, like I say, fuming. I mean, listen, I think he's got every right to be fuming with the decision. But I have to say again, with Last Word on Spurs, to retain a fair balance here, that it can't all just be about the one decision. You have to look at the overall balance and picture. Because tonight, if we've been honest with you, I do feel in my heart of hearts, as much as that is an awful, catastrophic decision that's been made and takes 4 minutes to make that decision, that had Spurs played like they did in the second half overall, we'd be out of sight. The sporting manager could
he's
not
Jurgen Klopp that, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Conte's Jurgen Klopp that question. He's taken that VAR decision and he's made it all about that. When really, I'm more furious with that first hour. That's what I'm furious with. Like I said at the top of the show, not furious. That VAR decision, like, forget it. If you're getting hung up on that, you're missing the bigger picture. Be furious about that first hour yet again. That's what needs to change. And that's what Conte really needs to be looking at. It's wrong. He can't be furious. He can be.
We have to remember, Rich.
He needs to balance.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you, but at the same time, we know he's a really emotional character. That, I mean, for me, part of me, I like that he cares that much because I think that's a good sign. I mean, we've all been maybe a little bit apprehensive and concerned that he has still only got 7 or 8 months left to run on this contract, and we're talking about him saying, feeling like he's part of the long term. I'm quite pleased to see that passion tonight. It shows me that obviously he still cares. And not that I've doubted that he cares, but it's alarming, isn't it? We can't sit and deny that the first 15 minutes of that game is alarming. I want to see that passion. I still feel he's the right man for the club. I think he needs backing. I think there's still a lot of those players that still are not good enough for what Antonio Conte wants of a Tottenham side. And my concern is whether we are able to get him, all of those players, as you've said before, Rich, that are going to be in a place where he can move forward with the project. And again, that's put a question that we don't know right now. But like I say, we'll be bringing you even more, reaction if there is any more from Conte. But he has stormed off, left the press. I imagine that's what we're going to get from him tonight. Very, really angry. And you can understand that. But what we are going to do is we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Once again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support. You are going to hear for this break for our listeners on audio a fuming Antonio Conte who is giving his thoughts to Spurs. For our watching audience, we've got about 800, 900 of you here watching us live. We're joined by the wonderful Richard Cracknell, the superb Ricky J. Norwood, and the brilliant Hartman, Darren Hartman, back on Last Word on Spurs. Thank you so much. We know it's never easy on the back of a really, really tough ending to a Champions League game. I know we've barely touched upon VAR, but we are, like I say, going to give you our thoughts on that as well, because I know in the immediate sense, we've been sitting there doing an hour on VAR. Does it really get anywhere? It will still be there next game. It will still be there next week, next month, next year. It isn't going anywhere. And we've been used to seeing so many of those real controversial decisions that cost team points. And that's the ultimate reality of it. Rix, let's kick off the second half with you. We're going to share the team on the screen now, but Conte did make a number of changes to the Spurs lineup. So just for our watching audience and listeners, of course, Conte made the 6 changes to Spurs' side for their 50th game in the Champions League. It saw Spurs revert to a 3-4-3. Conte said ahead of the game that we play 3-4-3 many times. For injuries, we were forced to change. We were forced to change to another midfielder. We can play with the 2 systems, but our principal system is 3-4-3. It meant Matt Doherty, Ben Davies, Ivan Perisic, Lucas Moura came into the side in place of Emerson Royale, Clement Longley, Ryan Sessegnon on another skip, Christian Romero, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who both missed out last the game through muscle fatigue, were back in the starting 11 and they took their place on the back of Sanchez and Yves Bissouma in the process. Lucas Moura, it was his first start since Burnley on May the 15th, and Matt Doherty's first ever start in the Champions League, meaning Spurs side read Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Davies, Højbjerg, Bentancur, Perisic, Lucas, Kane and Son, with a bench of Forster, Emerson, Spence, Sanchez, Longley, Tanganga, Sessegnon, Bissouma, White, Sarr, Skip, Hill. Rix, overall, happy with that team? Any shocks for you in there?
Well, I mean, after the last 2 performances in the Premier League, you could see how important Højbjerg was and how important Romero is. So he's brought them back into the side as quickly as he can, or he saved them. Giving them a day off against most of the team had a day off against Newcastle, but that's not the point. But No, he's probably given them a rest there so that they could come in for this game, because it really was an important game. You know, for us to win tonight would have been, you know, qualification, and we could have, like you said there, Ricks, earlier, that we could have played, you know, the second side. But you know, it was good to see Mora back, full of energy, zipping about like a Duracell bunny as per usual. Definitely gave us some impetus at times. Romero, I felt that he was running relentlessly all game. He was at center back at times. He was at left center back. He was at left wing back at times. He was center midfield. He was up front. He was everywhere. He really did try and get things going and try and G up the rest of his teammates. Even that sliding challenge where he got the yellow for it, that was another kind of wake up moment for the boys. Do you know what I mean? Like, just a little spark to get them going again. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the system that Conte prefers, and that's very close to the first team, isn't it? Really. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much you can say, really. You know, if Emerson would have started, I think I might have had something to say, because, you know, even though the only thing that he did got chalked off by VAR, Doherty was okay. Didn't really pull up any trees, but was okay. It looked comfortable over on that side. So, yeah, I mean, that was the team I was expecting tonight. And I was happy to see Højbjerg back in there just for a bit of solidity.
Yeah, I mean, Daz, you can see lots of comments on the screen here questioning some of the long-staying players of Spurs. Listen, Davis, the Dyers of the game, Doherty to some degree. When you look at that team for you, Darren, is that a Champions League lineup for you? Taking maybe the Spurs hat off emotionally? Is that a difficult question to ask?
It is a difficult one, but that's what we're here for. We're here to do difficult questions and to answer them. Is that a Champions League side? No, it's not. There are individuals there, as we're all highlighting, and we can see that if we're playing Champions League, right now we've got an easy group. We got the easy group that we wanted. And right now, if we were playing against the high flyers of what we would call Champions League, we will be in problems with that team and also the performance. They go hand in hand. So right now, there are players in that squad that they're not Champions League worthy. They're not at that level. And that's honesty. That's being real. And even in their performances today, they will say that to themselves. They did not perform to a level that if we were playing Champions League winners and teams that dominate in the Champions League, we would have been in a serious problem at that end of first half. Would have been a serious problem.
Can I just say, we might need some clarity on this. We've got a question. This is more for audio listeners here statement from Harry here. Says the referee is the same referee who gave the Sissoko handball decision in the Champions League final. Unbelievable. We just may need to get that qualified if that is definitely the case. I don't want to go in on a referee if it isn't him. Like I say, if anybody, if well informed with that, we will obviously let you know if that is the case. I'm not calling all my liar there, but obviously. Based on how poor that Champions League final handball was. I mean, if it was the same referee, then my God, I mean, you do have to feel...
The ref didn't make the decision, Ricks.
No,
VAR.
Exactly. It's gone to VAR. So again, whether it's saying it's I think what's being questioned is if it's the same VAR official that has made that decision. So again, look, It's one of those nights where it does take a lot out of you. I mean, this show was due to start at 10:15. We pushed it back 15, 20 minutes. I think trying to mentally get over what we've just watched. I mean, again, I think we're all mentally trying to compensate the first half, then to try and get to the point of the second half. Then you have to then try and comprehend how we didn't win the game. Conte, like I say, fuming. Cracks, let's come over to you because, I mean, we'll talk about the start of the game because, again, with Tottenham, we almost had a goal in the first couple of minutes. A great way over the top from Dyer, resulting in Lucas getting in. We then saw Son coming deep at times. Moore had a really bad first touch. And again, with Spurs, it does have that feeling where we start okay, we concede a goal, and we just lose so much confidence. We really, really do. And it was Marcus Edwards opening the scoring. Typical, it would be Marcus Edwards on his return to N17. Picked up the ball, drove forward, an arrowed left-footed drive into the bottom corner from 25 yards. Larissa full stretch just couldn't get there. But do you agree with me? Cracks just defending, just so sloppy all round, wasn't it?
Yeah. Again, Rick just keeps following the same pattern, doesn't it? And it's it's like we've gone to a party with our new Mrs. Eric Dyer, who's wearing quite a nice dress, and we bump into our ex-missus sporting, like, she's looking $1 million. I mean, you're looking, you're going, because Eric Dyer's missed 3 sitters, isn't he? And Edwards has stuck that away. So it is, isn't it? It's going to the party and the exes are there, and your new missus, who's the party host, his ex, like, you know, she's got a dress from M&S on, and your ex-missus is there in some Vivian Westwood turnout, looking $1 million. That's what's happened. That's just Tottenham, isn't it? It's like it was the battle of the exes tonight.
Jesus.
And it would be. Sorry, Hartman's gone.
It did feel like wife's up at one point during that second half, didn't it? God.
Man, yeah, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming, and we've been speaking a lot about Lloris, and I think he's one of them ones that's going to have to be looked at in the coal. He really is. If we're gonna do something, we're just going to have to get tough with some of these players now. We've been in, as I said, in the meantime, Conte's got to try and make him feel $1 million. And some of us have given us incredible moments and have been good, but they're just not good enough. And I think Lloris has got to be one of those, Rick. He really has. I mean, that ball's bounced 4 times from Marcus Edwards hitting that shot and getting into that bottom corner. And I don't know. I just feel he's maybe at an age. When you look at the Sporting goalkeeper, he just looked younger, more vibrant, a little bit more snap about him. You know, there was just this little bit more about him. And you think to yourself, is that something now with Hugo's age where he hasn't been able to get down and get something on that to turn it round the post? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I don't know. In my heart, I'm not. I think his race is run. He's got to an age, and we've got to be tough. We've got to be tough with some of these players. Yeah. You know, Davies, Dyer. I know that he likes Dyer around the squad and that. You know, he's
deemed as one of the leaders.
Yeah, he's one of the leaders, but I don't know. He's Mr. Right now, but maybe not Mr. Right, and it'll be sad to see some of them go, but. Go they must, you do have to, if these upgrades come in and we want to do something, because let's face it, this Champions League group, it's really been a Europa League group, hasn't it? And, we've not been much more than the level of the others in that group. And you think if you get out of it and we come up against a PSG or a Barca, or or Madrid or something.
This will have to be rolled back to 11:30 slot for the horror movie, would it? Jesus Christ,
man,
we'll be sending Hartman back to his other location at that rate. Look at him, he's crying now. He can't believe it. It will be 11:30.
It is. I think it's just time. We've got to get tough, and we've either got to step up to Conte and his levels and his expectations, or carry on like bumbling along and just not giving master craftsmen the tools.
We are again coming to, I hate to say it, that almost defining period with Tottenham with a manager where it only is giving exactly, and I keep saying this with Conte, and I do apologise because people must be bored of me saying this on Last Word on Spurs, and again, I'm going to apologise for sound like a broken record. With Conte, this will only work, and I will keep saying this, if you give the man exactly what he wants. If you don't give Conte what he wants, there's no point in this. The same way there was no point in Jose Mourinho. If you don't give the man exactly what he wants, this ain't going to work. You can't give him duds. You can't give him backups. You can't give him alternatives. If the man wants a player, you have to go and get that player. That's facts. Daz, let's come over to you. I mean, I just want to talk about the defending for that first goal because it was shocking all round. We have Dyer, we have Højbjerg missed the chances to tackle Edwards. Romero's backing off him. There's nobody in front of Lloris's goal. He does see it all the way. It's not really got a lot of height on it. Should Lloris do better for you? And defensively overall, should we do better?
I think defensively overall we should do better, and I think that is Tottenham right now. That's something that we have just been like criminals about all season. We have made our own problems, we've made our own messes. There've been a number of opportunities for us to handle the situation better, and we don't. And I think someone made an interesting point a couple of days ago to me, and they're talking about Lloris and saying that we had a shot stopper. Now I wonder where he's at because he's never been the best goalkeeper. He never had all the attributes that a good goalkeeper has, but he's always been a good shot stopper. And now, as Crackers quite rightly pointed out, the reaction time's a little bit off. Going down is a little bit heavy. He reached that age of, some people say goalkeepers still have their little peak period at this point, but he is starting to feel it when he hits the elbow. You know what I mean? And we've got to look out for that. And I think the way goalkeepers have evolved, he's not evolved in the way that we need it to evolve. And as you quite rightly said, Conte needs the tools to work. And I think we are criminals of making our own errors, and making our own mistakes really hurt us. And that was another example today where we hurt ourselves. We watch that back. If they're going to watch it back, you'll see, as you said, there were a number of opportunities where we could have eradicated the danger and moved the ball forward, and we don't. And that's been us all season, to be fair. And I think you're right, Rick, in terms of Conte. If we're not going to give him the tools, what are we doing and what Spurs doing? And I think this year, now till January, is going to be critical for what we as fans see from our board, from our manager and our players. If they want to go where we want to go, then it's going to be a great period of time. If they don't want to go where we want to go, we're going to see the wheels come off the bus quite dramatically, and the World Cup's going to come. It's going to get ugly. So I'm just hoping we're all going in the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, Rick's come over to you. Listen, you are one of the most positive, optimistic Spurs fans that I know. You've been doing Last Word on Spurs for over 5 years. You only moved on to YouTube in the last 18 months. I know you probably get less for attempted murder these days. You really, really do. Sorry, Rick. But I mean, listen, you said it as well. I mean, I just want to be able just to kind of understand why you feel after we go behind, there is that lack of confidence, hustle, urgency, creativity. Because we even had points where the boos from the stands were kind of happening between them, where a move kind of broke down with Højbjerg smacking it over the top to absolutely no one. And we just seem to, when we can see the goal, look absolutely shell-shocked. And we talk about leaders. We talk about players that are going to step up when the going gets tough. You boys have rightly said here, this group we've got, if we're being brutally honest with you, is not a top-tier Champions League group. When this draw came out, other opposition fans, bar us Spurs fans, said, blimey, they've got a touch. Do you know what I mean? And you just feel, I am apprehensive and concerned. Listen, I want us to qualify against Marseille. Of course I do. I want Spurs to be in the Champions League. But I am fearful of what is to come when you look at how so far we've done in this Champions League competition. Do you also share those fears, Rick, based on the way we reacted to that goal in the first half? Not about the second half, but the first half.
Yeah, Ricks, but you know, these problems, and this is what I was saying earlier, is that these problems that we've had for a very long time. We had them in the Conference League, away at Ferrero Rocher and all of them lot. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and Paco Ferreira, Paco de Ban, Paco Rabanne.
Yeah, Paco Rabanne. That was the other one. Yeah. You know, so we've had these problems for.
Rich is laughing.
While.
That's coming through the post for him next week.
You're gonna get the box set with the shower gel.
He's getting it all. Yeah. Don't you worry. Yeah, don't you worry.
Oh man,
gift set.
No, but, yeah, exactly. But no, we've had these problems for a while, and it's been a tough job to try and get rid of these problems. Now, I mean, if I look at Man United, we literally looks like we went out for the first 10 minutes. Punched ourselves out. It was a bit like a boxer. Punched ourselves out, and then suddenly we was flat, and we wasn't in the game. We didn't turn up whatsoever after that point, and it was, carry a bag. Oh, I forgot about them as well. It looked really tired, and it looked like they were mentally drained, and it looked like, and I'm not giving them an excuse, I'm just telling you what I saw body language wise. It looked like they just wasn't there. They couldn't get up the field. They couldn't do it. You know, Newcastle, I was there at the ground, and they changed. You know, they done a big swap out of players. You know, there was a big change of personnel in the starting lineup, but there was a lot of the same things, and they do knock on, and like the boys have been discussing about the amount of players that are still in the squad, that have been in the squad for a long time, that those have those demons in them. Do you know what I mean? So they creep back out when there is a negative result, or when there is something that doesn't go our way. What I would remind everybody is that we've actually improved, but this is the same group of players that got us to the Champions League last year, that was playing on the front foot, that was playing 3-4-3, but they were pressing a lot higher, and there was a lot more energy, and there was a lot more tenacity and hunger and desire to get into those places, and especially last season before Conte came in, I don't think there's a lot of us. I mean, I know Darren said this a long time ago last season that Tottenham would get top 4, but there wasn't a lot of us that were saying that. Yeah, Quadal.
He called it on air as well. He called it.
But there wasn't a lot of us that, even if I said it, half of me was like, oh, these performances. But then Conte came in and he changed a lot. And we saw that. And the biggest difference between last year, the end of last year, and what's happening right now is these 3 games a day. Conte had the full week to prepare for each Premiership game, where we went on that run and where we did get big boy results and big boy performances, and that's why the level and the expectation has risen from all of the fans, because Conte rose them and Conte brought us back up again, because we were dying. We were a sinking ship. I called us Titanic FC. Do you know what I mean? For a long time, but Conte rescued us and he pulled us back up and he united every single fan. There was a big, massive ENIC out protests and whatnot going on last year. Conte brought us all back together again. And then we've had a bit of a summer and we're like, all right, cool. You've had a pre-season. You've had a summer. Let's go. And the fatigue has come in. He hasn't been able to utilize all of the squad that we bought in the summer, because a lot of them had to learn the system and a lot of them had to step up to Conte's level before he'd give them a go. And even then, they've had varying performances and various levels of performance. Basuma, is a great example. When he first came in for West Ham, bit all over the place, got a silly year like hard, and then everything dropped off. Then we've seen, then there was the second game that he played, he played a lot quicker balls and and passes around the corner. And then the next game that he came on, he wasn't that good again. And then when he came off the bench in the 3-5-2 against Leicester, it looked good again. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's gone throughout the whole squad, and there is a bit of fatigue here. And playing every 3 days means that after the game, there's 2-day recovery, and then you're playing again. So how much are you doing on the training field? How much are you then in the tactics room? And how much can you transfer what's going on in the tactics room to the pitch without being on the pitch and trying to recover? So all that, plus a negative demon that's in Tottenham, that has been in Tottenham for a minute, is all kind of come together. Plus, and I will mention that, the coaching staff, Antonio Conte and the boys lost, Ventroni only a couple of weeks ago. And you saw that even in that Brighton game, it took a lot out of them. So there's a lot going on. And we did see a bit of a response, but it's been stuttery. And we haven't clicked. We haven't got out of second gear yet. We've been getting results in first and maybe just hinting into second gear. So we haven't even seen the Tottenham and the Conte Tottenham that we know and love from the end of the season yet. So there is still a long way to go. So when there is big things on the line, like this Marseille game now, instead of thinking about it as a break or we can rest or rotate, those boys, they need to be up for it now.
No question.
They need to drink their Lucozade. Do you know what I mean? And they need to make sure that they've got, they've at their stake and they've got everything that they need to go out there and do the damn job. But we're seeing with not only injuries, but other teams. We can look at Liverpool, that have been playing high-octane football for a long time. And this season, they've been like this the whole season. And we haven't seen the same Klopp Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Even though they got a result tonight. So it is affecting other teams around us. But I think it's just affecting us a bit more because we've got this negative demon. If we can shut that negative demon up again and everyone can start believing, and maybe this is what we needed tonight. Maybe we needed a game like this where it was topsy-turvy. This game is kind of like our season. Do you know what I mean?
No, you're 100%. You're spot on it. It's got everything that kind of covers the season. Ellie says, "Wait me when it clicks, please, Rick." I don't know how long we'll be waiting for Ellie for that. I'll be honest with you.
Let me know as well, El.
Yeah, that's no rush. Then we'll come back. Then we'll come back and do last word on Spurs. Cracks, we'll come around to you. Then we'll go to Daz. I just wonder. I mean, Conte's denied it. Obviously, flat out denied it. But the closer we get to the World Cup, the less a lot of these players look like they are willing to die for the shirt. Now, again, I will be conscious to say Romero. went absolutely flying in for a tackle in the second half. But do you seem, based on that kind of first half 55 minutes, where that is becoming more alarming? And I have to say that, of course, Spurs aren't the only players with players going to the World Cup. You know, there's lots of players that are going to the World Cup as well. So maybe it's unfair for me to make this assumption. But do you think we're going to get more and more performances like this up until the World Cup? Or is it hard to judge that when you look at City flying and you look at, for example, other teams showing some momentum when we're not right now? Can you make that assertion or not really?
I think that comes down to individuals and the type of relationship they have with their national team, because I think there's some nationalities that don't put as much importance on playing for your country as some others. So I think it all comes down to who that is. You know, Romero, yeah, he went flying in tonight, but there just seems to be that real more of a, you know, do or die attitude from Argentinian players playing for the country. There's some more of a national pride than there is maybe amongst the English players. I don't know. That's the way it seems from the outside looking in sometimes. So, yeah, you know, it's, again, that's such a hard one to call because you can't sort of prove either way with it. But it does seem like that some of those, you know, are maybe hanging back a little bit, you know, as a just in case. I would think somebody like Kane really feels the pressure because he's the captain of the national side, you know, and if he gets an injury now and doesn't go, you know, that's big news, isn't it? So yeah, it's a tough one to tell, Rick. I mean, Ricky made a good point with Ventroni passing away. We don't know just how much those players are missing him now. I mean, it galvanised the squad when he actually went, and we went out there and gave a couple of performances like the Brighton game off the back of it. But now, you know, that's like the initial grief of that has gone. And you could tell that he was a big voice and a big character around that training pitch, and now he's not there. And all these things could actually be feeding into what's currently going on, because, you know, things are a little bit off on the training pitch as well, because they've just lost such a big character around there. We don't know that. We'll never know that. I think there's a lot of elements that are currently going in to players underperforming. And I think, as you say, one of those could well be national expectations from individuals, the loss of Ventroni, and 1,001 other things as well. But, you know, at the moment, it's not right. And as I said at the top of the show, you've got to take those moments like VAR tonight and feed from them, and, you know, and put yourself right in performances going forward.
I do agree. No, and listen, again, I mean, I think the concern, I'd say, just to sum up that first half, we also saw them have a goal disallowed. They could have gone 2 up, actually. A deliberate handball from Coates. The player was booked as a result of that. But that's going into half-time, as we've already said, Spurs were technically on autopilot in the most politest ways going into that half-time. I mean, was you always confident, we're going to come on to the second half in a second, was you always confident we'd find a way back into that game based on that first half? Did you know Conte was going to rile them at half-time? Be honest.
I think, because that's what Tottenham have done. That's kind of the blueprint we've been working with. As long as we're not completely battered in the first half, 1-0 going in, we know there's a goal coming. We know that there's going to be a lift in performance because it doesn't get worse. Thankfully, normally it doesn't get worse. So, yeah, I was confident that the second half was going to improve. I expected it to improve quicker than it did, if I'm honest with you. But, yeah, I did see an improvement coming in the second half for sure.
Yeah, can I just say again tonight, we're going to come back to the Daz in a second, that ref in charge, as we understand it, or should we say the VAR official, lots of them confirming that was the same VAR official on the Champions League final of 2019, where, of course, we had that horrendous decision of Moussa Sissoko. So should we expect any different? We're going to get the boys' final summing up of VAR as we go into the second half of the show. So what we are going to do is we are going to go for our next break. You're going to hear from a really disgruntled Lucas Moura, who says we can't complain in terms of the overall context to the game. But of course, we always want more. For our watching audience still here, we've got a good 700 to 800 of you. Thank you again for all of your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. Really do appreciate it. We know it's late on a very cold, bitterly cold Wednesday evening in the Champions League. Let's hope we'll be talking about Champions League more to come here in Last Word on
Not
Spurs.
here, it's not in the Canary Islands, let me tell you. Carry on, Rick.
That was a tee up, of course, of Crackers there. Of course, it was a tee up for him. Just a reminder that we are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Of course, with Nord, that allows you I'm laughing with Nord because I keep saying Spurs are on this European journey. Rick's like he's ready for the Conference League over there, the way it's going. We are, of course, delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Now, of course, with Nord, it allows you to change your virtual location settings. If you're going to be going to Marseille next week, you are, of course, going to need to change those virtual location settings so you can get Last Word on Spurs bang on your time zone. You're also going to need to watch all your latest favourite movies, whether it's Jason McGowan's Underwater Sports. As you know, he loves an underwater sports. Make sure you go and check out NordVPN. We've got a special discount on the screen for you right now. You can go to www.nordvpn.com/LDOS to get yourself a huge discount plus 4 months free. Right, guys. Okay, second half. And it was Højbjerg coming sitting with you, Daz, that was bringing the energy to Spurs. It led to a corner which didn't come to nothing. Then we saw Aiden, the goalkeeper, make a couple of brilliant saves. One from Dyer. We then had a moment where Bentancur Romero had an off-foot block. Doherty blasted over. And then you did feel Spurs, they were gaining momentum. It felt like we were going to have a breakthrough, a really good spell. I mean, what changed for you in that second half? Was it a Conte team talk, Daz, or was it just the fact that, we felt we could get back into this game and the fans also felt that way as well?
I think I've got to go on history of Spurs right now and go, it's Conte. Something is clearly being said at halftime that is changing the way the boys are coming out, because it's not like there's a massive personnel change. And if it was the players, you would see a change happen within that first half. So it's clearly something that he's doing. It's clearly a gear change that he's giving them, and he's finessing things to make them play. And it's scary that he's taking that, but it is working. The second halves have been huge improvements on our game, and that's how our season has been written on. It's been written on our second half. It's not been written on our first half. The success is purely 45 onwards, not the first 45. So yeah, I did see that, and also seeing where our leaders are. You mentioned the name there, Højbjerg. You can see the characters that come out, hear the talk. As Cracker said, it goes on in here. The football intelligence kicks in, and you see that lift, and they drag others with them. And that's what we're seeing. Second half, we're dragging everyone on. So, yeah, I was anticipating that lift.
Yeah, Matty Hayes, of course, regular on the Last One Spurs there tonight. Matty from over in Ireland. I can't believe what I've just witnessed, Ricky. We still can't believe it, Matty, and we're an hour and 15 in. So please forgive us. I mean, we're adding to time. I'm an hour and 7 minutes into Last One on Spurs. As you know, conscious of time. There's that phrase, take a shot every time you're in the Last One on Spurs. Conscious of time, it's that shot time. It's that bingo card. Rich, you crossed that number off yet? Has it been crossed off from your end, Rich?
Yeah, I've got bang opposite your south stand. I've ticked that off. Conscious of the time. NordVPN. I'm just waiting.
Beaver's on there. Surely Beaver's on there.
Beavertown's on there. Yeah, I'm sweating now. I'm just waiting for one more for the full house, Rick. So which beat going to bingo last night. I went bingo properly last night and ended up sweating on 2 fat ladies. Carry on.
Where do you go from there? I tell you, where do you go from there? Better than Gala, I tell you that. Gala are missing out on Last One of Spurs bingo, I tell you. We saw a big tackle, of course, from Romero. Now, at one point, Spurs, we laughed at how Conte's rigid formation was. We had Romero playing as a centre forward. We had Doherty as an inside right and Lucas Wide on the right. I mean, who can say we didn't change it around? We did. I think Romero's kind of put to bed now, those accusations that, I mean, I know Richie jokingly said there he gives to show it all more for country rather than club. He went really in 100% with that tackle. I mean, some would probably argue he's desperate for a suspension. Others would argue that he's given 100%. But it's great to see it. There was no way that was a foul at all. So, look, great to see that.
And then ridiculous, wasn't it? It was a ridiculous. He won the ball. That's just him. Rick, when we bought him and we saw him for the first couple of games, we all said we are going to lose him this season to a couple of red cards. But I'll take that because it's blood and thunder. He's all or nothing, isn't he? And I'd rather that than somebody that just keeps hanging out a lettuce leaf and plays it safe. And you just have to live with that. I want the team to bottle what he does and everybody take that forward with Romero. He just needs to sprinkle that across everyone. You take more Romeros than one or two others in that squad, wouldn't you? But it was a ridiculous booking because he won the ball. It was just a Romero tackle, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then we saw a big chance go for Doherty, an effort saved by Adan. Then we did see Conte make the substitutions. May have been calling for these subs to come on. Hill on for Doherty. Lucas going to wing back. Sessegnon was originally going to be coming on. Then he was told to go back and warm up. Dad's coming over to you. I think there were positive substitutions from Conte. I mean, we needed Hill to come on, and Hill did come on. I mean, are you pleased by his introduction into the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Conte is starting to trust him a little bit more. And what he's been producing is showing that there is character in there. There is a player who's starting to understand the system, but also he gives us something different. And I think that's what we've been lacking in when we looked at the bench options. A player who uses the ball differently, who works in the gaps, who looks to run even more direct, Gilbin, what he produces. And I think also that press up top, he leads that because he's not afraid to just be busy. And I think that's what he provides, a lot of energy. And today he did himself proud. And I don't know if that's going to earn him more minutes in the Premier League, but definitely I would presume that in that Marseille game, depending on recoveries of other players, he may get a few more minutes in that game.
I don't see why. I know we're going to preview Bournemouth very shortly. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be given a chance tonight. I mean, we're going to have players, like Rick just said a minute ago. These players are playing every 2 or 3 days at the moment. Why not give Hill a run out? You know, we're not playing, no disrespect, as Cracks holds up an image there. Real deal Hill. Look at that. I tell you. Was that on the bingo card as well, Rich, or is that you've just made that one up? I didn't say that one. Oh, that was the bingo card. You cheeky. Now I know what he's been up to. He's been drawing that for the last hour. Look at that. Brilliant. Superb. Ricks, Spurs do put on the pressure. We do get an equaliser. Bentancur heads in from Perisic's corner. 1-1 after, actually. We had to wait for VAR to sign this one off. I'll make you laugh. We had to wait for him to sign it off. And it's funny because the keeper was actually really good for them all night long until that moment. He just simply... he was trying to... He was actually trying to claim a foul, but he just completely missed it. And Bentancur headed into an empty net.
Yeah.
Mad?
It was a bit crazy. I don't know what the keeper was thinking. Do you know what it looked like? It looked like he went out, but then, you know, like in them comedy movies where you don't see the lamppost, and the lamppost just came out of nowhere, and he was just like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then he was on the floor and tried to be... But yeah, I mean, look, like Lee McQueen was saying right there.
Oh no, Macca's in the house.
He's the reason, mate. He is the reason. He was another one that had a, you know, just a firecracker up his backside to kind of get something going, you know, and to get us moving. You saw him again. He was one of those that was all over the pitch. He climbed as high as Peter Crouch used to climb to get that header in.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, today, yeah.
Again, Rich, one of the best performers on the night, Bentancur again.
Yeah, and then he missed that shot as well. He had an opportunity to score, and another one when he started, like, you know, beating the ground when he fell into the goal. You know, so there were opportunities tonight. We could have taken that without the VAR decision involved. Like Crackers was saying earlier, you know, the 3 chances by Dyer. And Brian Hill, just a quick point on Brian Hill. Yeah. I know a lot of us were looking at Marcus Edwards tonight and going, you know what, you not only did he play fantastic, but I'm sure there's a lot of us that were researching and seeing if there's a buyback clause in there. But my thought would be, would we play him? You know what I mean? And then my second thought would be, well, we've got a bit of a firecracker in Brian Hill right now, who's the same size, same stature. You know, hopefully he's going gym with Bentancur and Sanchez.
God. And or he's on the wagon stakes, as Cracks would say. Get him on those stakes.
You know, and you know, there could be somebody as good, if not better, than what we saw from Marcus Edwards tonight in Brian Hill if he gets some time. So why not chuck him in? Why not give him more time? He was the one that I was calling for. I thought it would happen at halftime, But you know, hopefully another nice cameo from him, and hopefully he can get some more minutes, and especially off the bench in the Premier League. You know, change it up like Darren was saying.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Dad's coming over to you. As we said, Bentancur, really one of the key outstanding performers on the night, got his goal, and there was just that almost belief, Dad, on the back of that goal going in. There's a winner in this for us. I mean, we saw the sporting manager just almost collapsed to his knees. He couldn't actually, do you know what? I don't think he actually watched any of that second half. Did he watch any of it? He had his back to play every time the camera panned on him. He had his back to play. I don't think he watched the second half, did he?
And that's what Spurs can do. And that's the thing about our team right now. When we play the way we want us to play, we can do that to teams. We can do that to managers. We just look like the confidence we're in, the chest we're out, the ball. Everyone wants the ball. If you just watch that period of play and watch that opening period, everyone wants the ball. Everyone's looking for a pass. The passes are forward. They're fluid. The movement's happening. Everyone's engaged in the game. And I think that is the Spurs we want. That is the Spurs we need. And if we're going to be the team and have the success that we all want, it's going to be highlighting that last period, seeing what was there and go, when we scored, everyone reacted in the way that we needed them to react. That's what we need to start the game with, in that mindset. Let's start 1-0 up. Let's start 1-0. Let's be there rather than be, oh, let's be negative. Let's try and protect. Because as I say, it was all there. It was all there. But we saw it, we felt it as audience members, as fans. We were all with them and we was like, the goal's coming. Yeah. It came, but you know what happened there.
Yeah, we do. We are going to come on that in just a second. Cracks, it's your Hugo Lloris moment of the show. Now, this moment, I still don't understand what he was doing. He went out chasing a sporting attacker to the corner flag, missed the tackle. Then when the cross came back in, he sprinted up to get back the flag, finally up going for offside. Lloris almost looked around thinking, what are you doing? He couldn't quite believe he was, just another moment of madness from a goalkeeper. I know your son's won. Can you understand that moment of madness from Lloris? Is it getting worse?
Oh, good goalkeepers are lunatics. Absolutely. They're lunatics. But sometimes there's a level of control with them. And this is from like the dad of a born to be a goalkeeper son. They're lunatics. It's not long, Rick, before you're in Beavertown having a pint during the game. Like you're not interested in football. Like the game's going on and you've popped into Beavertown on the way home from the supermarket for a little laser crush or something. And Hugo Lloris is going to come running in now during the game because he's just like, he's everywhere at the moment. It's honestly, he's going to be down the high road next. What is he doing?
He was in a park lane at one point.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, off the back of what had gone on in the last game, why do that? It's just like they make some baffling decisions, don't they? But also to stick up in the goalkeepers' union a little bit here. When they do drop an error, they're just so glaring and. Really, should Dyer really come under as much scrutiny as Lloris tonight? Because he's missed sitters.
Oh, he's missed three chances, Dyer, to win. Dyer missed three to win the game. Three to win.
Yeah,
one of them 5 yards out. 5 yards out.
Exactly. But you don't sort of give the outfield players the same stick as you would a keeper when they make a horrendous mistake. So, but he does make some baffling decisions to like when he comes and goes. He's just
I must say to his credit, he made a wonderful save from Fatawu Ishaku's shot, which
that's easy for you to say.
What did you say there, Rick? Sorry,
was that Rick?
What was that?
Fatawu Ishaku.
Oh, okay, Ishaku, yeah.
Ishaku.
Say that 3 times in the mirror, Rick, and he'll appear.
I thought I might disappear if I say that 3 times. Jesus Christ, even I'll go. It's been a miracle I'm still here, to be honest, on the back of this. But yeah, like I say, he did keep us in it, to be fair to him, at that point. And then we have to come to the defining moment, boys. Crack to stick with you. Incredible drama. I mean, Kane, we think he's won it. He thinks he's won it. Conte thinks, everyone in that stadium thinks he's won it. And then it goes to VAR. And I can only imagine if you're in that stadium and you're waiting 4 solid minutes and you haven't got a clue as to what's going on, you must sit there be thinking, well, if we can't come to a decision on this and it's not clear and obvious, it has to be a goal. It has to be a goal. Now, we do understand, again, we were recording the show straight after the game, a couple of hours after here, that it has been ruled offside correctly, whether we like this or not, for the most minuscule of margins. And now we understand that the referee that's made that decision, or the VAR referee that's made that decision. The VAR official was the same official that was obviously forming part of the Champions League final. I've now said it 3 times in this show. Forgive me, because I'm still trying to get over the fact that that person has even got a say in this game or even been allowed to be on that panel based on that horrendous decision. Can you still, 2 hours on, fathom how we've come to that goal not being allowed? Or do you now just take it as the fact that maybe overall a point is all we deserved?
Yeah, because VAR's just rubbish, Rick. And it's like we said at the start of the show, it's not going anywhere. So if I was Antonio Conte, tomorrow morning, I'd go in and I think my keynote speech to them would be not that decision was made, because VAR is crap. It really is. It's rubbish. It gets things wrong. Like I said at the start of the show, it got that Sterling offside decision wrong, didn't it? To be honest, and Man City should have gone through, and we bounced out. And some you get, some you don't. What Conte needs to be saying to the players tomorrow is, okay, chaps, that last 35 minutes of the second half, I want you to focus on what you've done to only lose this game to a complete load of crap that's VAR, because you've dug in, you've got an equaliser, and morally you've got a winner. It might not stand, but the fact is we dug in, we got the equaliser, we got the winner, really, for all intents and purposes. So I want the players to concentrate on that element of the decision, that they just got so lucky that he got ruled off. They were lucky, like we was lucky against Man City. That is what the players now need to concentrate on. Forget the actual mechanics of VAR. Just look at what you've done to make VAR have to make such a crap decision. And that's what you have to take away. That's what you have to bottle. That's what you have to take into Bournemouth away on Saturday. And that's what you have to take to Marseille. And then at Marseille, if you're digging in and, you're taking the game to them, you might get one that goes for you. You've got we started buying lottery tickets from an hour, didn't we? And guess what? We got a couple of wins. The fact that, that one gets chalked off. So he's got to be careful. If he carries on being raging and furious over the actual decision, he's going to lose what got us to the point to get that decision. And that's what we've got to go with.
Yeah, Daz, just come over to you. As we understand it, from the VAR perspective, what they've told us is that Kane was ruled offside and Emerson headed the ball back. Now, again, there's so many different interpretations of this. I mean, Conte after the game has said that VAR is doing a lot of damage. I want to see if in another stadium of a big team, if they're already to disallow this type of goal. So, quite simply, if I ask you, Daz, does that goal get chalked off at Anfield, at Old Trafford, at Stamford Bridge, at the Nou Camp, at the Bernabeu? What do you think?
You know what? I think it does. I think VAR is just a mess. And I don't think you've seen any continuity in terms of it anywhere. It's been a mess for everyone. No one is happy with VAR. And I think the way I'm looking at VAR right now is that you've got to treat it like boxing. Remember when people used to go and fight in Vegas and you'd go, what a decision that was. This is ridiculous, outrageous. And your cornerman would say to you, don't leave it to VAR. Don't leave it to the judge's scorecard. Don't let it get there. And that's what we've got to do. And that's what we've got to take in the mentality of, let's not leave the game down to a VAR decision. Like we said, if we played the way we ended the game, if we started like that, we wouldn't have need VAR. That goal would have been immaterial. We would have been 3 or 4 up. So I think that's what we have to do. Everyone in the league, everyone in football right now hates VAR, has an issue with it, has felt some kind of hurt when it's not gone their way or when it has gone in their favour. So let's just play the game and make it clear that we beat teams without needing VAR so that we're ahead. That's what I'm saying.
Rich, just finally, your thoughts on that overall. That, I mean, the decision itself now, a couple of hours on, having time to maybe reflect on it. How do you feel about that? The fact that, like you say, it takes over 4.5 minutes to get to that decision. Surely that in itself is just unbelievably not right, is it?
No, I mean, it's not. It's not clear and obvious, then, is it? And it just seems a bit dodgy, and it just leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. But exactly what Darren was saying there, we shouldn't be leaving it to VAR. We had many other opportunities before that last minute opportunity.
I don't know whether though, Rick,
score it.
I don't know whether you, Rick, do you not feel though, when you have a decision like that, I know they'll never do this, do you not feel that a referee or someone from that panel should have to face the press the way Conte has to face the press afterwards, and they have a microphone shoved in their face to get their instant reaction to making that decision? We see managers get a mic shoved in their face where they're going to get the sack, like Gerrard was last week. Should that not be the same for officials?
Yeah, because you should take responsibility for your decisions, and if you can't take accountability for what you do in the workplace, then you can get away with whatever you want to get away with. But on a side note as well, I to kind of combine what Rich and Darren was saying there, I think that might be a trait as well, where we're right now, because we're in a sticky patch and because we haven't got out of first gear, maybe in each training session, we're looking at the mistakes and where we went wrong. And if our focus is only on the mistake, only on the negative, then sometimes that can attract only negative. So like Rich was saying there, if we can look at that last half, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, where we was on the front foot, where we was playing first time balls, where we hardly passed back, do you know what I mean? Where we did look for a cross or a shot or how many corners did we get because of the amount of pressure that we put on them? If we can look at that side of our game and start to do the things that we are strong at in that side of the game and start to do things positively, then we could attract more positive results and more positive performances. And maybe that's something that we can focus on to lift this side and to get them clicking, because we're still all waiting for them to click. Maybe it's because they're focused and maybe too much on the negative and the mistakes that we're making.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I do agree. Right, we're going to do quickly just some of the player ratings overall. Let's stick with you, Ricks. Lloris, like we said today, a couple of decent saves, a moment of madness from him. Just sum up your thoughts on Romero. To be fair, like I say, really strong tackle in that second half. Dyer, if we're being honest with you, he should have really won the game for Spurs, maybe twice or three times over. Nowhere to be seen for the first goal. Ben Davies subbed off late on. If we're being honest with you, he had his hands full with Edwards, didn't really cope. Matt Doherty, he went close, if we're being honest with you, but again, performance-wise, tonight did very little note for his time on the pitch, replaced by Emerson Royale. Defence overall for you tonight, Ricks, thoughts on them generally?
It was a bit of a mixed bag. We've got Perisic on the other side as well, Ricks, and he was trying to get crosses in left, right, and centre. And
yeah, how bad's that? I don't mention him. That's how effective he was, and that sounds awful saying that.
But there was a couple that were in the right areas, but he did chuck in a lot of crosses on that left hand side. Doherty, he had that shot that should have fell to Kane, and he, not that I'm the biggest fan of Doherty, but he looks more comfortable in the shirt. He does arrive in the right spaces at the right time. And maybe with a little bit of the rub of the green, that some of these things can start coming off. I even feel better when he crosses the ball for some reason. And it's not the greatest of crosses. I just feel better that he's crossing it than Emerson right now. Romero, I thought was fantastic. I thought he was everywhere, and not just for the tackle, but he was one of those players that we asked for year in, year out, that will do something to get our team going or to get our crowd going. Yep. Sometimes a thunderous challenge and a tackle, and the fact that you're running all over the pitch trying to make something happen. Romero could have scored today. He was at centre forward at one point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he was everywhere. So Romero, I thought he was really trying to get things going. I think Dyer was is still on a shaky run, and that might be tiredness as well, because we haven't been able to rest him at all, really. And then what was it? Davies. Davies is Davies. I know you love Davies. I think that probably was Crackers' winner, really, which would be, what is it, 6 out of 10?
6 out of 10, Davies. Yeah, he's got it on there somewhere. Yeah, down the list.
Tell me you got it. Tell me you got it, Crackers. Yeah, there he is. Bingo. There we go.
House. House.
Can I just say, maybe Perisic even is different, Rick, because like you say there, if Perisic is, if Harry Kane's goal stands, Perisic has got the assist. So maybe we're sitting there saying, oh, there you go, Perisic is back on the hype. He's got himself an assist. It's a different outcome for that of his game.
But even his corners and stuff like that, I like the way he takes a corner and the way the ball flies in there. You know, he does. He was trying to switch it up on the right, on his right foot and get those right foot crosses in as well as the left foot he crosses in. He did swap over to the right wing back as well at a point to try and get something going. But I did feel maybe in the second half that, and Conte was thinking this obviously as well, but the two subs that I was calling for was Brian Hill and Sessegnon, and I didn't think that they were going to happen. But then I saw them on the sideline, and Brian Hill came on.
Yep.
But I thought Seth could have just given you that pace to look after Edwards at times, but also to push their right wing back or whatever it was, right back. Give them something to think about and give them some problems, because Perisic is, however good his crosses, he's not the quickest to scare you. Do you know what I mean? You might be able to think as a defender, and Darren, you might be able to take this as well, bro. But as a defender, if you're not as rapid, then I might have a bit more time to figure you out or get you onto your weaker side or to try and nullify what you bring to the table. So
Get ready to take that shot. Here it comes. Conscious of time. Daz has come over to you. Højbjerg, listen, back in the team tonight, I think you see a difference in Højbjerg's in that team. It adds a lot more, I would say, energy to that lineup, especially second half. He really came on and brought on his game as well. I mean, he started off that kind of positivity in that second half. Bentancur, again, probably Spurs' best player on the day. Had a couple of efforts, obviously scoring with one. Lucas Moura, of course, back in the team. You wouldn't really know Lucas Moura was back in the team based on that performance. He was really rusty from Moura, if being honest with you. Probably needs a lot of game time. Whether you can bear yourself to watch the game times, another question. That is overall. Thoughts on that midfield and Lucas Moura as the forward?
Everyone, I just need a bit more. That's the way I'm with it. Everyone, I just need a bit more. There were glimpses, there were moments, and everyone was trying. You see the effort was there, but I need a bit more. And I think it's that game intelligence. And I think that's what was missing a lot of the game. And then when it started to show itself, when it arrived, it was there and it clicks and it moves. And I think that's what we need. We need a bit more from everybody in terms of the in-game management and just pushing forward. Because all these players have the ability to do it in that midfield. When you talk about the clientele we just spoke about, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Son, Kane, like Moura, those individuals there have all got that level. We would say they all got the Champions League in them. They can all play at the top level. So show us that, and we need it regularly.
Yeah, just on, you mentioned Kane and Son there. Kane, listen, if that goal goes in the dying minutes, he's seemed to be having a great game. He linked up quite well early on with Hartman, Son to play in Lucas. Again, quiet game from Kane overall. Son, just don't know what's happening with Son at the moment. I mean, he had a shot on goal just prior to half-time. But apart from that, really, I mean, Son not really contributing much. It's worrying because, listen, we love Sonny, and I'm always conscious with Sonny that we say something awful on here, it'll end up making us look like a mug and score a hat-trick in the next game. So, again, that's why I think why we're always so hesitant to criticise Son. In terms of substitutes, I mean, Matt Doherty, again, coming off for Brian Hill. Brian Hill, probably the star of the show in that second half. I don't know if it was right, Cracks, to leave that with you before we look ahead to Bournemouth. Brian Hill, Rich, overall, is that the kind of performance that we need to see from a Spurs substitute?
Yeah, a lot of people talking about Brian Hill this evening, and that's a drum I've been banging for a long time, as regulars will know. Just be a little bit careful, because we were so under par tonight. He's come on and been a bit of a shining light, and that might be a little bit brighter than it actually was, just due to the woeful nature of the performance and us screaming out for somebody to do something to make something happen. And he did a few times. So for me, he's still not a starter, Rick. I think he will be. I think he's going to be a star. But he's not a starter for me. I think he's that last 20, 25 minutes type of player that will come on and start running at some tired defences and that. If he starts, I think you're seeing a different player. He's not ready yet. And as I said, I think he just maybe shone a little bit bright this evening due to the dull nature of a lot of the players and a lot of the the way that the game went. So, yeah, it was good. I loved what I saw from him. He is going to be a star, but just temper it a little bit. Don't expect too much. There's more senior players there that should be doing that and could be doing that and not doing that. And I just worry that he'll come on, start a game, maybe not do what he can do in a 20-minute cameo, and people go, oh, well, that's the end of him. There's others there, older and wiser, that need to take a lot more responsibility for that type of performance that he gave tonight.
Yep. Can I just say, get the bingo markers at the ready. We have overrun on Last Word on Spurs. When have you heard that one before? We have just gone past midnight. I know Cracks did have a shit quiz lined up. We just need to check in with the guests here. We were literally doing 2 minutes on Bournemouth. Daz, Ricks, do you want if the listeners and if the listeners want it, do you want to stay for a 5-minute shit quiz? Hold on, Ricks is on mute. Just had a good sign. He's still on mute.
What's the listener saying? What they saying?
Well, listen, what we'll do is, as long as Daz is happy with that, we'll ask the listeners if they want it. Right, okay. So, watching audience right now, there's 700, I think there's 600 or 700 of you here still watching this somehow. Bless you all. Thank you so much. Let us know if you do want a shit quiz. Right, there's already yeses coming through. We are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking you into that break, you're going to hear from, we've got a wonderful preview from Tom over at the Bournemouth podcast. I'm doing a really disservice here. That was Tom from the Back of the Net podcast, giving you his thoughts on that one. There's yeses, a shit quiz is a must on the back of tonight. We're hearing, sorry, Daz, Ricks, it might be a late one. Get the water bottles ready. Joking. Right, before we look ahead to Bournemouth, Conte did say on the back of the game that from his perspective, at the end of the day, people will come on to say it's a red card. And for me, only for me at the moment, I don't want to comment on this. That's Conte. I hope the club understand this and they will speak with people they have to speak with. Otherwise, it's only managers to speak. I think the club has to be strong. We don't know what happens next if we go out. Then I want to see Conte at the end of the game, after our second half. I think we deserved the 3 points. After decision now, we have to wait until Marseille. This decision can create big, big damage. And that was it from Conte. Stormed off, which means we're going to storm over to Bournemouth. Now, we'll kick off with Daz. I'll tell you what, it's getting nuts for this shit quiz. I hope it's good after this. There's Darren and Rick thinking, what am I getting myself involved in for? I thought it was a midnight finish. I thought it was as well, boys. This is the Champions League nights. God. I really better not turn into Europa League. Could you imagine what we're leaving ourselves in for here? Christ. We can't drop down to conference, can we? We can't. I mean, we cannot drop down to conference. Right. Let's start with you, Daz. Bournemouth have presided over a decent run of form under caretaker coach Gary O'Neill. They've just actually had back-to-back losses against Saints and West Ham. They've seen themselves slip down the table over the last week or so. Thoughts on the game itself, what we've got to come, Daz, on Saturday?
If we're not winning that, we have to really look at ourselves and go, what's going on at Spurs right now? I'm expecting a win. I'm expecting a 2-1, maybe even a 3-1 win. And I'm expecting to see a performance that we deserve and that we need and that must happen, because Bournemouth are there to be beaten. We've struggled when it's the top six, as everyone's been highlighting this season. But I think Bournemouth are very much there to be beaten. And let's go and let's beat them. Let's do it. 3-1 Spurs. Let's do it.
Look at that. That is such the professional. He even knows I was going to ask for the prediction. He gives me one anyway. Superb. 3-1 Spurs. Ricks has come over to you. And Bournemouth have failed to score in both of the matches they've had recently. They've got inevitable problems in front of goal like us. They've scored only one of their past 5 home matches. I feel like I'm reading Spurs' stats out here. Rick's thoughts on the game? Prediction for Bournemouth? He can't believe it either. He refuses to want to talk about this one.
No, it's all about building on the back of what was good tonight. They've got it in them. Tottenham have got it in them to destroy any team. Do you know what I mean? It's only up to them. They've got to get their belief back. They've got to get their spark back. They've got to get their fire back and go get them. Go get them. And I think we will. I think we'll have them. I think we'll have them 2-0, Ricks. Yep,
2-0. Okay, Cracks. Let's come round to you. This is testing relationships and divorces as we speak right now. I can tell you it bloody is. I tell you. People think I'm joking. It bloody is. I'll be homeless doing the next Last Word on Spurs. You'll see me outside Oxford Circus doing it with no bloody background, I tell you.
Holding his phone down the high street. What's going on?
I will be outside Paco Rabanne as the background. Don't worry about that. I'll be sitting there cold.
You better wear your fluorescent Get Here top, Brad. Like,
get the yellow one back out. Get the yellow one back out. Bless him. Good to see
Isn't
him.
Packer Rabanne the left back that Harry Redknapp had a look at once?
Ain't he Emerson Royale's replacement on the right-hand side, isn't he, for the next window?
I'd take that right now. Offer me that. I'd take a bottle of karate over Royal at the moment, let me tell you.
Well, the bottle itself, just leave the bottle out
Just
there.
a
Probably better
bottle,
go
yeah.
forward.
Just a bottle, yeah. 6 out of 10 karate.
He's doing a 7, I tell you. We're getting faster than Davis down there. I feel awful saying that. I'm going to get battered off this one after this goes out. Cracks, Bournemouth, they're 4 points above the relegation zone at the moment. But they could slide down to the bottom 3, depending on how we get on Saturday. What's your thoughts going into Bournemouth?
Take the last half hour of tonight into the game. We win it all day long. Take that middle sort of half an hour, 40 minutes into the game. Your guess is as good as mine. So, like, which Tottenham's going to turn up? Over to you, Spurs players. Over to you, Mr. Conte, who won't even be there, and see how they prep. I think Hartman might be right, actually. Let's see how they play when Dad's not on the side, like overlooking them, which is a bit of a worry if they put on some sort of mad performance that's a bit swashbuckling if he's not there. So, how can you predict Tottenham at the moment? It's like, that's harder to predict whether this quiz is going to be any good or not.
Yeah, well, for the sake of our marriages and those in relationships, let's hand over to you, Rich, now, and we will proceed with what's to come for these next 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Rick. Hartman, Ricky. Okay. So this evening's shit quiz, we was of course in Lisbon for the Champions. We're playing Lisbon, for the Champions League. Fine city, of course. Now, Lisbon. Have you ever been Lisbon? It's a lovely, lovely place.
No, I haven't.
But I'm going to test your geography of the place for tonight's Teste de Murder, which is Portuguese for shit quiz, by the way. So that's what I'm calling it this evening. Now, Ricky, Norwood, and yourself, Mr. Hartman, both fine actors. Okay, Hartman, you'll be in Panto this year, no doubt, will you? You back in? Oh, yes, he will. Oh, no, he won't. Oh, yes, he will. Okay. Ricky, yourself, Panto this year?
Yeah, I'm in Torquay this year, my friend.
Yeah, there you go. Hartman, Hackney Empire?
No, I'm in Ilford. I've defected. I'm closer to East.
Well, when this finishes, they'll both be on at this rate.
Right, okay. And of course, Ricky was in EastEnders. Okay, so East End, think of that. Hartman, Hart. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 areas of Lisbon, and they're either in the heart of Lisbon or in the East End of Lisbon. Okay. And you got to tell me which one they're in. So they're either in in the EastEnders, or you're in the heart of Lisbon. Okay, here we go. Here's your first area. Eyes down looking.
Are we just shouting this out then, Rich? Is it just shouting it out?
Yeah. Whether you're East End or the heart. EastEnders or heart. Okay. Campo dos Martires de Patria. Now,
I'm going heart.
I mean, that's all day East, bruv. Like, come on. How can you not know that is East, bruv?
That's heart, blood.
Is that heart? One says heart, one says East. It is, of course, in the heart. Well done, Mr. Hartman. Well done. Okay. Next up, we've got the area of Marvilla. Now, is
your villa or my villa?
Marvilla. It's in Marvilla. Get out, Marvilla.
East End. It's East all day.
East End.
I'm backing you. I think it's got to be the East.
You get East. It is. It's the EastEnders of Lisbon. Well done. That's a point.
That's a 1, Norwood 1.
2-1 at the moment.
He's got 2.
Oh, sorry, 2. Apologies.
Yeah.
All right, 2-1. Yes. Next area, soon over. Don't worry. Is this in the EastEnders or the heart of Lisbon? The area of Beto.
That's in the East. It's a beach. Beto. Beach. East.
Oh,
no,
he's
bro,
good at this.
That's in the heart, bruv. It's in the heart of the middle of the centre.
Beto. Heart Beto.
It's the bench in the centre square. Beto is a bench, bruv. Everybody knows that. What's wrong with you, man? Come on, man.
Beach versus bench. It is. Hartman, you said East End, yeah? And you are correct. It is. It's in the heart. It's taken a 3-1 lead.
It says time for VAR to do one.
Penultimate one for you, chaps. Santa Cruz. Now, is that in the
That's a
heart?
player. He used to play for Blackburn Rovers, Santa Cruz.
And he was a centre forward. So it's in the centre. It's in the heart.
Not Roque Santa Cruz, just Santa Cruz. Okay. Is that in the heart or the East End? Ricky? What are you saying, Ricky?
I'm going to say East. I'm going to say East.
East. He takes a 4-1 lead, does Mr. Hartman. It is in the heart. Okay, final one. Hospital Donna Estefania. Not Gloria Estefania. Okay, so it's a hospital called Donna Estefania. Not Gloria Estefania, because that would be Dr. B.
Well, if it's related to a hospital, you got to put it in the centre. So I'm going back to the heart again.
Yeah, I agree.
Heart. It is in the heart. Well done, Mr. Hartman. He smashes it 5-2. Well done. And that is your shit quiz for this episode. Is anybody still watching this? I've sent them all off the bed in, I reckon.
There's 600 still watching this. What's more concerning is that we've gained viewers rather than lost them during that, which basically should we just do the shit quiz moving forward. Forget the games.
You could cut the tension with a spoon, couldn't you, on that quiz?
Rich,
well done.
There wasn't one Helder Postiga question, bro. I had that in the back of my mind, ready to go, bro.
Do you know when he came to us, everybody? I remember we played. I'm sure it was Stevenage away. Was his first go at Stevenage for a pre-season game. We got in the pub beforehand, and some chaps tried to start a song about him, and they were singing, "His name is Helder Postiga. He's gonna win us the Liga."
Our times have changed, Rich. Our bloody times have changed.
He was rubbish, wasn't he?
Shocker.
He's gonna win us the Liga.
And we're still trying, guys. We're still trying. Can I just say, Rich, thank you so much for that. Listen, we need a bit of light-hearted love in there just to finish the show. Can I say thank you so much for all the incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. Can I thank a wonderful panel this evening up past midnight. Thanks so much, Rich. Love it as always, mate. Thank you so much for your time, Rich. Loved it.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to do whatever the score is. And listen, you know, sometimes it's tough going, but it's lovely to gather here and people come in. And yet again, what an effort tonight from the fans with the tifo, and that all got paid out of like people's own pockets and what have you. So this club's got unbelievable supporters, and so this show has. So brilliant stuff. Thank you.
No, my pleasure, mate. And to Darren, thank you so much, mate. We know there's been some tough, very, very late night ones. So we love having you on Last Word on Spurs for these Champions League nights. Please, God, they may continue. And please, God, you're here to join us. Daz, thank you so much, mate, as always. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure talking to you guys. Always a pleasure being on the show. Always a pleasure talking football, talking Spurs. If you need me, put out a bat sign. I will be there.
He is always unbelievable, the wonderful Darren Hartman and the wonderful Ricky J. Norwood back on Last Word on Spurs. Always love for Ricks, lots of love for Ricks. I said it earlier, Ricks has been doing this for 5 years now. Look, he's still standing. Look,
crazy, absolutely crazy, bro.
Testimonial time.
In it, nearly. But nah,
poor Dad is thinking, what, am I joining this now for another 5 years? Sorry, Dad, you're tied in now.
That's it. He gets you to sign a contract without signing it, though. It's over. It's done, mate. You're done. You're finished. But no, I love being back on, bro. It was fantastic to be back on. And listen to every single one of those fans that get the opportunity and get the privilege and the honor to go to the stadiums and to sing and to shout and to boo when it's time to boo as well. Carry on back in this team. Carry on back in Conte. We might have to do it ourselves. Do you know what I mean? We might have to GM up and get and going ourselves. And you saw that when you gave the team energy, do you know what I mean? They responded too. So keep giving them the energy. Whatever that is, just keep giving it. Keep backing Conte with his plan and his mission. And it's only the first half of the season. We've got a break, and then we've got the business end of the season coming. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. You don't know who's going to be injured, who's going to be out, what teams are going to be up and down. You ain't got a clue. So it's all right, man. It's not over yet. Yeah, it's still the first half of the season, man. We've still got a long way to go. So carry on backing the boys.
And don't you worry, we'll be here. We're in the conference. I mean, Europa. I mean, Champions League. Can't just say for the wonderful Richard Cracknell, from the superb Ricky J. Norwood, from the brilliant Darren Hartman. Guys, thank you so much for all your support from Last One of Spurs. We're back with you on Saturday evening, where we've also got the wonderful Tim Winston joining us from Spurs Song Sheets, raising the vibe, raising the mood, as always. Cracks is back very soon, as is the wonderful Ricky J. Norwood and the brilliant Darren Hartman. As always, guys, please keep safe, keep well. We'll see you hopefully when our marriages are still alive. Come on, you Spurs.